This is Lisa and Nick, and
Hi,
we're
everyone.
discussing Christian Reconstructionism and current events. Um, I was discussing how it seems like there's a certain group in this country that believes they don't have consequences like the rest of us. Um,
And I was
and
agreeing.
yeah, I would agree. It's very interesting that our vice president described the people in the quote unquote young Republicans group as children. Now he's taking advantage of the fact that it says young. The youngest person there is 24. And as I said in my little porch chat, when someone tells you who they are, listen. These
Yeah.
people are telling you they are racist. They hate everybody who doesn't look like them, who doesn't think like them, who doesn't act like them.
Yeah.
And
And
they think all of those who aren't like that deserve death.
yeah. And also, like, did they ever, there was a quick question is from Carrie is, did they ever think there were consequences for them? Yeah, they
No.
admitted that. No, they admitted it in the chat. They knew there would be consequences if this came out. They said we would be fucked if this comes out. And they're
Oh,
right because they knew it.
so they
They
did it
knew
anyhow.
they did it anyway. That's the thing is they knew it was wrong and they did it anyway. That's what we're dealing with. That's the mentality when you don't think you have consequences and
Well,
you've been given the permission to do it.
look at their leader. Okay.
Yeah.
He is a what, 30-time convicted felon at this point. Never served a day in jail.
Nope.
He's fighting paying any reparations back for his behavior.
Hmm.
And everyone thinks he's going to get away with that. I mean, we're talking about somebody who expects to be the absolutely heinous to people and have no consequences for it. He even got reelected. What is
Yeah.
that telling all these people? Seriously, what is it telling them when you can get elected as a 30 times convicted felon with
Hmm.
multiple divorces, playing around very publicly on your wife? I mean,
Yep.
there's no consequences for them anymore.
No. I think we
It,
need
you,
we need to make America have accountability again
oh
and
yeah.
people have accountability for heinous actions because shit like this is just it's getting really old and it's really disgusting what
Mhm.
they're
Well,
doing.
if you look 20 years ago, and Tim has pointed this out and everything. 20 years ago, if you were divorced, you were told you would not to expect to be able to run for office. They said the
Yeah.
GOP will not dare accept, the Democrats would not accept a divorced president back then. And
No.
now we not only have a divorced president, we have a divorced rapist president
Yeah.
who has done some of the most violent and heinous things possible to another human being and never served a day of prison for it.
And is allegedly a
A
pedophile
pedophile.
because he is all over the Epstein files. We have documents proving that he is all over them. He admitted he was best friends with the guy for
Mhm.
years. And it's it's permission to do those things. And they go to these churches where men have all this power and they teach women that they're lesser and that boys are inherently better or more powerful or whatever bullshit patriarchy garbage that they want to spew at them. But they give them a sense of purpose, even if it's hateful and a demented purpose, they give them a sense of purpose to go
Mhm.
forward in their lives. It's gross. Yeah. They don't, they brush it off. They just brush it
Hatred
off.
hatred has this incredible sense of power to it.
Hmm.
When you actually not only don't care if people live, but actually wouldn't mind seeing them dead, it's really free. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to sound evil because I also find it very horrifying. But if you don't care if someone lives or dies, you don't have to care about whether or not they need any benefits, whether or not cutting their benefits would be damaging. You don't
Hmm.
care if they live or die. And it's everything that's happening in this country is anti-Christian. And I think that bugs real Christians the most is a lot of us are sitting back. In fact, that's why there's so much deconstruction going on is because we're sitting here, we're looking at what we were told Christianity is, and we're watching what is being played out in the public square, and they don't match.
Yes.
You know, we
Yeah.
have a country that looks forward to taking healthcare away from millions, that looks forward to cutting everything so much that it no longer collects taxes. I don't know if you realize that, but that is a Reconstructionism goal. They believe that government should be so small it doesn't need taxation anymore.
Which just means you don't get any social services. Like that's
Correct.
literally the whole point of that is
According
you
to
do
them,
not get social services.
the family and the church are supposed to provide them, not the government. And I was at one point back in, oh, what's his name was in power then? Oh, shoot, weird guy. He's still there. Um, anyhow, he was very anti Social Security actually, and he actually was talking about cutting, Social Security benefits down to practically nothing for all these people and everything. And um, he was the one that put up changing the quota, the way that they figure out how much um, Social Security raise you get every year. He wanted to do something called chain CPI. And chain CPI pretty much says if you can't afford steak, you buy hamburger. When you can't afford hamburger, you buy tuna. When you can't afford tuna, you buy cat food. And that if they keep cutting your benefits, you will just find a way to survive. You don't need to
Hmm.
be kept full. You just need to be kept existing.
Yeah, you just need to
And
be alive.
you just need to be alive. And you don't even need to be functionally alive. You just need to be existing. If they don't let you die, they make you so miserable you want to die, that's fine.
Yeah, as
Because then
long
they
as you
don't
don't
kill you,
die.
you kill yourself.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, even if you do die, they don't really care. Um, it's it's nihilism or nihilism or whatever you want to call it because nihilists don't care. Um, and it's just it's part of this overall black pill movement and deconstructionist movement and accelerationist movements,
Mhm.
and it's just um it's gross, it's weird, and it's really bad for people. It's very dismissive of the needs of anybody because, like you said, they don't care if you die and they think things need to be, and they don't see things like spousal abuse as real
Oh,
issues or as abuse.
spousal
Let's
abuse
take,
isn't an abuse. There is nothing biblical that says you can't beat your wife.
well, they say that, and then they show us that by Mike
Um,
Johnson dismissing the spousal abuse charges that are being brought forward against Republican Representative Corey Mills. Um, and they won't be the last of this. And he just sort of dismissed them. Hey, Courtney. And he just went, yeah, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the important things instead, the things
right.
that people really care about. Well, screw you, dude. I care about spousal abuse and abuse because it's fucking wrong and it's disgusting and it's hateful and it's hurtful. So, yeah, I want to stay there, Mike Johnson. I want to talk about spousal abuse.
Mhm.
And I mean, Trump has dismissed it too very openly, saying that should be something dealt with at the home. And we don't care about that. That's not really a
I
problem.
I was physically abused. I went to pastor because they're supposed to be involved in this, and they pretty much told me that I had to be a better wife.
Yeah.
They're like,
And
if you weren't being
it's
such a
always
bad
the
wife, you
burden on the
wouldn't have to
woman.
break your nose. If you weren't being such a bad wife, you wouldn't have to stomp on your head.
Yeah. And it's always
And
about
it's like,
burdening the
how bad
woman
a
with,
wife do I have to be to get stomped on my head? What
yeah,
in the world do
like
I do to deserve that?
what person deserves to be curb stomped, basically,
Hmm.
is what they're saying that that's okay
Yep.
because you can, I mean, your wife is your property, basically.
Right.
is what
It
they're
was in the
saying.
60s. In the 60s, a woman could not even have her own credit.
Yeah,
And they like that. They like a
they want to
woman
go
being
back to it.
so dependent on her husband that she can't escape.
Yeah.
And then if she gets lucky and she picks a good man, no problem. And if she doesn't pick a good man, well, that was God's will for her, or she deserves it because she chose the wrong person. And
Hmm.
um, my grandmother, I had two grandmothers. I had a very holy grandmother and a not so holy grandmother. And the not so holy grandmother, um, she would have been stoned in a theonomy.
Hmm.
She ended up having an affair with her employer, and he left his wife and child for her. And she had a child out of wedlock with him. That was my father, back when being a bastard was a bad thing. And, this, she would not have been allowed to exist. And the thing is, my other grandma, in fact, it's so funny, they would fight with each other through me. They would tell
Hmm.
me these weird things. And my one grandmother, the one that was not so holy, would say, I don't understand why your grandmother thinks she's so much better than me. She got married pregnant too. They are so upset with sex in this group. It is
They are.
all about sex. Sex is like their biggest hang. We had the Puritans and other very, very rigidly um, controlling groups come over and start this country. And what we sometimes don't realize is our country is unfortunately founded in authoritarianism. Religious religious freedom also became religious oppression. I mean, look at what happened to the women in Salem in the witch trials. Okay, this was all about taking property from people. Actually,
Yeah.
it was a land grab. But we started a country that talked about freedom because they didn't want the church running the country. They didn't want the church running people's lives. But we also started with a whole bunch of countries or a whole bunch of states that were founded as religious freedom colonies that wanted to be able to live a very rigid, very controlled religious life. And it's part of, unfortunately, it's part of our heritage, and we need to address it and be aware of it. And in a millennia far removed from when Old Testament law made sense, we need to realize that pluralism is going to be part of the future. You know,
Yes.
we can't be a people who sits there and says, okay, you count if you're white and male, and the rest of you don't. And that's really what it boils down to in the current situation is white males are supposed to have power, and anyone who challenges that is wrong. And it's not biblical. In fact, what they believe in, and it's interesting because this was what, if you look at some of the Old Testament writing or the New Testament writing, this is what they were looking for from the day that Christ ascended, if he ascended. And they've been looking to start Christ's kingdom on earth. Though originally, I think Christ's kingdom on earth was something that was serving and good and took care of other people and so forth. But it got turned into by the 4th century when Constantine took it and mixed it with Mithraism. That's where Christmas comes from, by the way. It's on Mithras' birthday. That was their Mithraism cult celebration was the 25th of December. And that's where Christmas comes from. It's from the Mithraic cult that the Roman centurions followed. And he mixed it with everything else to keep control of his centurions while using religion to control the people in the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Christianity suddenly becoming good. Instead, Christianity became useful.
Yes.
It became a useful way to manage an empire. And that's when it was first co opted from being a religion of peace and service and kindness. And God loves us to You have to behave or we're killing you. That is when it really changed.
Yeah.
We're
And
living with the fallout from that ever since.
yeah, we're also living from the fallout of the fact that as a nation, we have never been willing to confront any of it.
Right.
Um,
We prefer burying
and
our heads pretending.
yeah, we like to do the ostrich thing and bury your head in the sand and pretend that nothing ever happened. But we, and then while we're doing it, we also apologize to the people who do the things that are bad. Like we give conservatives a pass every single time. We gave Confederates a pass every single time. We
Hmm.
we literally name bases in the South after
Hmm.
Confederate generals during World War II to get
After
white men to join the military because the rebels that still live there, the descendants of those who served in the
South
Confederacy,
will rise again.
did not want to serve for the US during World War II. So we had to convince them to do it by further bending our knee and giving them more space for hate. We gave them
Hmm.
bases named after Confederate generals. And
So you,
we've apologized to treasonous men by
mhm.
letting them go and then becoming part of our government again, and allowing them to serve in offices. We then let treasonous men and treasonous women run our country now. We let an insurrection happen and we didn't acknowledge it as a nation. We just sort
Nope.
of left it wide open because we are so apologetic on the left about everything, and it has to be fucking bipartisan for everything. It has to be the left is doing this with the right. We need their support. It's the Nancy Pelosi mentality of, well, Republicans need to fix their own party. Well, no. This is a cancer in our society that has become the Republican Party based on this theonomy and this
Right.
Christofascism. There is no saving the Republican Party. We do not save the Republican Party. The Republicans do not want to have their party fixed. They are a fascist cult. They are a death cult. This is the Republican Party. At the end of this, the Republican Party and this theonomy idea and this idea that churches get to do whatever the fuck they want and preach whatever they want and hate unrelentingly has to come to an end at the end of this, which means the Republican Party needs to be dismantled. And no, I am not saying that there will be a uniparty Democratic Party afterwards either. I think the Democratic Party needs to fall shortly after, and we need to get away from and close the two-party system finally and do a multi-party system that is smaller because the two parties have monopolized the system into Christofascism. Like they're owned
Um,
by the same groups of people. They're owned by the same money,
it is the
and we
same
need to
money,
get rid
but
of it.
I don't think I think that the Christian fascism is in its way a means to an end. I don't I think it'll keep coming back, unfortunately. Um, to be honest, and unfortunately, and it's going to take education and time. I mean, we thought when Obama was elected, we thought that we overcome the worst of racism. But instead, we discovered there were all these racists who were being polite and burying their heads and pretending not to exist. And they got so triggered by a black man in the White House that they went nuts and brought us to where we are. I mean, I
And I
will
think it's
always
appropriate that
blame
we call
this.
them out.
I will always blame this on Obama getting elected, not because I mean, I think Obama was a great president, but I think he triggered the racists so bad that they all said, "You know what? I'm going to be racist. I'm going to stand up and be counted because I can't have black people running my world." And here we are.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's the fruition of the KKK platform,
mhm.
of the German American Bund platform,
When
of just a white supremacist platform in general. Like this is
Hmm.
they were able to co-opt the message because it came from a TV personality that was very charismatic, um, and was able to do the one thing that nobody stopped from the beginning, which was asking for the birth certificate of Obama.
Hmm.
Had the Democratic Party stood up and just said, yeah, no, we've already proved it, and you're a
Right.
racist, and called it what it was instead of being weak testicles and soft footing around it and going, oh, we don't want to hurt their
Now, wait a
feelings.
second. You forget something. You forget basket of deplorables. She started calling them out on it, and it immediately backfired on her.
Okay.
She was
She also
immediately accused of,
caveated that whole list of deplorables with saying, like, I am specifically talking about these people, but
right,
not these people. Like, they
right. I
did
know she
it,
did, but they
but
took
that
it,
came
they turned
after.
it on
But
its head.
yeah, that came way after, though.
Um,
Because she, well, that came
she
during
took
all of
it
it
and
too,
ran
but
with
they
it
took
to
it
get
too far.
coverage. She
Yes.
took
And
it and
that's
said,
what they
yes,
do.
you're all deplorable, so you might as well stick with me. And people who were on the fence went, she called me deplorable. She didn't, but they took
Because
it. Yeah,
because
they
they
fell
had a
into that group.
messenger. They had a
Right.
messenger who was willing to say all of the message that they wanted to hear,
Hmm.
and nobody stood up to it, is the
Nope.
problem. Like, it could have been easy, relentless. The Democrats
Hmm.
could have just easily and relentlessly said, she called these people deplorables because she called racist deplorables, she called pedophiles deplorables, she
Yep.
called these people deplorables, and that's it. Like, they
Right.
could, had they just gone on the offense and also just been like, yeah, okay, those personality traits are deplorable, now
Correct.
let's move on,
Right.
it would have been over. Like, we're so of I'm not saying we as in you and me. The
But the left is so
left,
apologetic.
the left is so apologetic because we've been gaslit and abused into thinking that that's how politics are supposed to be for the left, is that we have to always be polite to to talk politics. Well, I hate to tell you this, but the right doesn't respond to that. Most of them don't respond to it because the system that they're all raised in is Christofascism, which is a patriarchal, abusive, controlling system. And
Right.
most of these people desire somebody, unconsciously or consciously, desire to have somebody control them.
Tell them what
And
they
that
have to
can
believe and what they
tell
have to
them what
do.
they have to do and what they have to believe. And now,
Give them a
control
box on
doesn't
them.
have to be evil, though.
Mm.
And yes, controlling people like that sucks. But 30% of the population are going to sit there and go, yeah, I want to be controlled. Like, that's statistically proven that that's how
Yeah.
it's going to happen. And yet we have to just accept that and be willing to be assertive and be the full personality on top that is more
Hmm.
powerful, and
Hmm.
willing to say the things that need to be said and screw up when we say them. Like, I'm willing to say something wrong, have somebody call me out in a chat here, that especially of those that know
Hmm.
me, and correct me if I say
Hmm.
something accidental too, and I fix it and I acknowledge it. And that's the
Right.
difference, is we have shame and we have guilt on things and we hold ourselves accountable, but they've handed over accountability
Right.
to this system of white nationalism where they get to be told what to do and how to live. And it's easy. It might not be comfortable. It might not be convenient. It might not be fun, but it's sure as fuck easy. You don't have to think
Well,
about decisions.
here's the thing too. The church has gotten to the point where they allow all sexual immorality as long as it is between a male and a female, pretty much. Especially when you get to their side, they even allow pedophilia. But um
I wouldn't even say allow, I would say encourage.
practically, yeah. There's no limit to it. But yeah, so you've got, these people, and the only things that they don't really approve of are things that are outside their experience that they aren't tempted to do anyhow. Like, they don't approve of being gay, even though some of them are obviously probably pretty darn gay. So they hide it in the closet, but and then they also, say, well, we should kill all the gay people. We should kill all the trans people, you know, because only about 30% or so of the population is completely gay. So they don't feel gay, or if they do, they feel like they're the only gay person they know. So they assume that being gay is wrong, and they're okay with gay being wrong, but they aren't okay with divorce being wrong because they all get divorced now. And they aren't okay with adultery being wrong because they like to cheat on their spouses. The things that they don't feel tempted to sin on, those are okay to make sinful because they aren't that tempted by them anyhow. And
Yeah.
their little box allows them enough latitude to do what makes them happy, and just gets to keep everyone else under their thumb. You know, it's
Yeah.
definitely, it's the um Lady Liberty wrote something about the yuck factor. She called it the pickle problem, and compared all normal people to like people like pickles. She goes, and there are people that don't eat pickles. Oh my goodness, they're all weird. What do we do with
Yeah.
all those unpickled people? And it's the same thing where people go, oh my goodness, I don't enjoy sex like that, so obviously you're weird. I'm not
Yeah.
attracted
It's
to.
kink shaming
It's like
and
kink
all of
shaming,
that,
yes, but a more life
but
and death
more
version of it.
aggressive. Yeah. Very,
Mhm.
very devoted to shaming at all times. It's
Yes,
self-shaming,
yes.
because they hate themselves a lot of the time.
Oh
Like
yeah,
those who are the most homophobic
usually are also
predominantly
gay.
are also, yeah, are part of the LGBTQ plus community. They just are
Mhm.
so mad at themselves and hate themselves so much that they take it out on everybody else in violent and aggressive ways. And I think we need to stop protecting people like that in any way who are that hateful and hurtful to the community.
So,
Um,
like Johnson down
like
south.
Mike Johnson, um, and the Grinder Files, and the
Yeah,
fact
I
that
want the
he
grinder files to come out. I do
and
so
the
bad.
fact that he adopted a like 16 or 17-year-old boy when he was a young man, younger, a little black boy, well, I guess an older black boy, but still a child, adopted him. We don't know anything about why that happened. Very Matt Gates like. He did the same thing. It's not the only examples of those. Look at Josh Hawley and the way that he kisses his wife so passionately, so manly, so masculine in how he kisses his wife. So
He
much,
runs
I
like
can
a
see
girl.
so much love between the two of them. The sparks are flying so much that it almost hides the white nationalism that he has. And it's disgusting. I don't know if Matt Gates is, but I mean, I think he adopted a young
Matt
man.
Gates is definitely a pedophile.
He's definitely a pedophile, and pedophilia doesn't care whether you're
There are
gay or
two
straight. It's
kinds
about
of
power.
pedophilia. I don't know if you know this, but there's pedophiles who are attracted to young children before they start taking on sex characteristics, and then there are the pedophiles that like adolescents that are starting to develop sex characteristics. One is more likely to be not care about gender, the prepubescent, but the
Mhm.
pubescent ones often have a gender that they prefer as well. Um,
Yeah.
that doesn't excuse what they do.
No, no,
Okay.
no, no. In fact, it makes
It,
it worse.
yeah, but what's sad is people. Oh, I know, Carrie. He runs like such a girl. Oh God, he's my senator, and the other senator is Eric Schmidt. And he sent me a thing the other day about wanting to protect my First Amendment rights, and
Yeah.
I don't think he means it. But I keep like writing back to him, egging him on because I'm a bitch. I'm like,
I
he's
just think you're
wanting to
passionate.
protect my right to protest. I'm so grateful for that. I did not know you'd care about a lesbian protest. Thank you so much.
I
He,
mean, he must care. I don't know. Maybe his wife cares, and
Oh
so
no,
she tells him what to do.
his whole thing on it is he's actually talking about the Charlie Kirk thing.
No, I
Charlie
yeah,
Kirk is their First Amendment right thing, not whether or
yeah,
not I can go to the No Kings protest. That's not his
yes,
amendment.
yeah. Let's talk about First Amendment stuff for a moment and dismissing terrible and shitty fucking behavior. And because it's part of this Christofascism,
Hmm.
and actually in this case it's Catholic fascism, um, is JD Vance dismissing the quote young Republicans who are all
Young,
adults, young adults, all adults who are
age
like,
24 to 40, guys.
yeah, college to older, like older than I am, adults. I'm not a child. Do I look like a child to any of you? Has you seen a child with the glorious beard like this and balding all over, and who has kids that are as old as those kids? Like, or
Yeah.
not yet those kids, but are in the age that they're going to start soon hearing about all of this stuff and having to make opinions because they're
Mhm.
going into slightly older ages, for young kids. These are adults. These men, primarily, and some women, but primarily men, represent the face of the current GOP, not
Hmm.
the up and coming, the current GOP,
Yeah.
because they are leaders of the young
Hmm.
Republican parties. They are
And each,
leaders of state and local GOP parties. There's at least one member of the administration itself who was included in that chat thread. And JD Vance said, we need to stop focusing on that. That's not really an issue with just those kids. It's just college kids. It's just a text chain for college kids. No, motherfucker. You guys have a sitting, I think, House member, congressional member at the very least, with a swastika in in their office. You have your leaders are espousing and speaking and using German phrases, German
mhm.
Hitler phrase, Nazi phrases from Hitler and Goebbels, quoting speeches directly, reworking them into English, reusing slogans from Mussolini, from other dictators and fascists.
Yeah.
That's who you are. That's what it
Yeah.
is. It is a problem, JD. Go sit, go fucking put yourself balls deep in a couch and leave the rest of us alone while we, the adults, talk about pedophilia and how disgusting it is that the current Republican Party is a Nazi fascist party.
That likes little kids.
Yeah. That likes and encourages pedophilia. Like I had an afternoon discussion today with a friend of ours, Kat, and her
Hmm.
son and his partner. And we talked about looks maxing, which is a very white supremacist eugenics based scaling system
Oh.
of looks, primarily focused for men about being very, it's a very hierarchical system on an 8 to 0 scale. Um, and the highest achievable that you could is this godlike perfection of what's called true Adam.
Oh.
Underneath that is Chad light, then a whole bunch of other shit. On the flip side of that, for women, it's the soft girl movement. It
Hmm.
is the trad wife movement.
Yeah.
But what it really is underneath is a movement to train girls
Hmm.
that they're lesser, just like the rest of Christofascism and this hyper fundamentalist Christian. It's this like square jawed, perfect image. It leads to mutilation and body. And like they were telling me that like kids are hitting themselves with hammers and certain points on their faces to break their bones and make different bone structures so that they look like this. It's about mutilation. And then and then for girls, it's teaching them that the perfect body image for an adult man to look at them is a child's image, is a pubescent child, is like 13 or 14, is hairless all over, petite, frail, young, childlike, but willing to do house chores, basically a child mom. That's what they want. That's what they're
Mhm.
teaching girls, little girls, to be like. This is it's a cult. Yes, it is a cult, but it's more than that. It is an entire political ideology in our country. It is a huge segment of the US population,
About 30%.
and they're teaching our children that
Mhm.
girls are sex objects. That should be like looked at and ready to be used from a young age. And that the ideal girl or the ideal wife is a child bride. They're
Oh, yeah.
normalizing child brides. That's what is
They
being normalized. And
I
it's
was
disgusting.
told that as soon as a woman hits puberty, she should be allowed to be married because she can make babies and that's what she's for.
Which
I
is
was told that
foul
in by a
beyond
pastor in
belief.
a Bible study.
Yeah, which is foul beyond belief. Like,
Yeah.
I have a daughter who is at the age that this would start happening. My my
She's
daughter,
still a kid.
one, is not an adult in any way. She does not communicate like an adult. She does not think like an adult. She does
Mhm.
not operate like an adult. She does not have the responsibilities that an adult does. She does not know how to do any of those things because she's a child. Because she's a child. You
Mhm.
people are teaching our children, my daughter, that she should be a bride in a year, in less than a year, that she should go get married. She's never going to do that. Nope, nope, not. And and God forbid something ever happens, because I live in a place where it's illegal to have abortions and to help and give women the rights to their bodies.
Well, for now, it's legal here until November.
Yeah, but if they trace your license plate and like track you down, you're going to jail anyway. So,
Mm.
I mean, I'd rather go to jail to ensure that my child never has that happen or
Yeah,
never has to deal with the consequences of most likely an adult man's actions to a
right.
child. And that is what they want. That's what they're encouraging. It is not a bug. It is a feature of the party. It is a feature of Christian nationalism. Whether they like it or not, whether it was part of their belief system before, it is now. It is now. It is part of their belief system. And it's so,
It's like they've
so
gone from
gross.
reality to fantasy in a really weird way. I mean, what a lot of what they are arguing for now, we wouldn't have even considered 10 years ago.
No.
You know, we would not have even considered. And now we're sitting here, and our whole country's been like taken over, and we're going, how did it get here, and why is it here? And it's so frustrating because it feels like it's so frustrating for me because I keep feeling so powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a French Christian cult behavior has vomited all over the mainstream. Courtney, that's it, and a lot of it is because they knew they could take Christianity, especially fundamentalist Christianity, and they could get people to vote against their own self-interest if they picked out scary enough talking points, and their first point to use to keep getting voters was abortion. And then they got the whole new ruling on abortion. Oh, it's not new.
Oh, yeah. It's an old thing
Um,
that they're doing.
I mean, some of what's going on, like trying to end the social safety net, they swore they would end the social safety net the day that it passed. And they have been working to end the social safety net from the Republican side ever since. Okay, so we're talking from World War II. there has been pushback to
Hmm.
get rid of Social Security, and instead we kept expanding everything. And they are just like crazy because they kept wanting to get less, and we kept taking more. And I don't know if
It's
you know this,
because it's because they have no ideas. They don't have an idea on how to
right?
actually do anything or lead or care for anybody. Because, like you said before, they don't care if we live or die.
Mm-mm.
They don't care.
No,
It's not about us. It's only if they live or die, and they don't give a shit about anybody else, and they don't look at the ramifications of their actions or consequences of their actions and realize that they're more likely to die than most other people are because of their own actions, because they've been convinced. Yeah, it it's n- it's not a mental illness to be in a cult. It is it is a it is manipulation and propaganda and indoctrination by an abuser. It is not a mental illness to get sucked into a cult. You may have mental illnesses. It is a weakness, but not an illness. I want to make sure when we talk about mental illnesses, like we're careful because I have mental illnesses, and it's very different. Being in a cult is a mental failing and a mental weakness,
mhm.
and the inability of an adult for adults specifically, it's the inability to question thing. Pedophilia, that does have mental illness components to it. They have proven that there are components of illnesses in it, and that there are certain wirings in the brain that cause people to see children
I
sexually, yes. But there are also people who just do it for power.
I have a couple things that have occurred as you've been talking. One was, do you know much about 1930s Germany?
I know a
Because
decent amount, yeah.
1930s Germany had like more than a half a dozen uh, actual political parties.
Hmm.
And one of the problems that they used at the time to create an inevitability of the fascist takeover was they kept demanding new um, elections to get a ruling coalition in the Reichstag.
Hmm.
Okay. And so he actually, when he was appointed to be chancellor, he demanded the right to call elections whenever he wanted to. And then he started calling elections like every 3 months. Oh, Thunder Pussy got here?
Hmm.
Awesome. Hi, Thunder Pussy.
I just love your
They've been
name, Thunder
around.
Pussy. I'm just gonna say it. I'm
Yeah,
glad you're here, friend.
they've been following around from Wendy's side. And Wendy hasn't been around much because Wendy went back to work, so people are getting lonely. Yes, best name ever.
Yes.
Okay, Thunder Pussy has become very popular already. In fact, if people are really missing Wendy's lives, I'm beginning to think I might do a sunset live for just like 15 minutes a day because sunset's gotten so early and people aren't seeing sunset anymore on the porch. And just to give people a bit of camaraderie around the sunset thing. Just because. But anyhow, the other thing. Oh shoot, where was I on the other thing? Let's see. You were talking about that. You were talking about um some of their choices. Oh well, I'm sure I'll come back to it. But I think that we are going to be a long time fixing parties. Um,
I
it's
I
pro
honestly,
women's control of women's bodies. It's not even pro birth.
yeah, I think we we need to finally fix the fact that we shouldn't have just two parties in this country anyway. Um, I think it's really detrimental to our system, and our founding fathers, the founders of our country, warned us about doing a two-party system and the fact that it would destroy the country because it would no longer be about the people, it would be about the parties, and that's what it is. It's about the parties and what the parties want, not
If
what the
you
people want.
look if you look at us historically, though, we've had like this rotation of parties over time. And it's really weird because we ended up with this like long haul then between Democrat and Republican for over a century. But before
Hmm.
that, we had the Whigs and we had these, and they kind of like rotated and changed. There have been a couple third party options, Thunder Pussy, that I've seen. There was one that I think shoot, Martin Sheen was advertising for a while. That was really good. And it looked possible, and it was definitely a let's abandon all of this craziness and just act like human beings to each other kind of party. Yeah, electoral college. We're at a point technologically. The electoral college was created to prevent non-land owning undereducated people from picking the president because the wealthy
Yeah.
landowners did not want the average Joe to be able to say who the president would be. So you got to elect a representative who then would know better than you and be able to put the right person in office. That is, and we are now at a point where we could actually do a 1-to-1 election for the president, which would be the fairest way to do it anyhow. Um,
We should have done that
we should have done that
forever.
decades ago.
Like forever ago. But
Right.
you know what? We could look into parties like expanding parties such as the Working Families Party
Hmm.
or groups like that. Like it's okay
Good.
if we it's okay if a political party goes the way of the Whigs. Like the Republicans should go the way of the Whigs. The Democrats should fracture the way of and go the way of the Whigs too. But not because I think the Democratic Party is as bad as the Republicans, but I think because it's holding us back and it's telling us that progressive politics are bad and wrong and we shouldn't do
The,
them. And
the
I'm
big
tired of being told that being progressive is a bad thing and that I have to shut up and just do what the moderate Democrats tell me are the right thing because they keep fucking capitulating at all
right.
costs to fascists. And I don't want to do that. Like, I would like to move forward and I would like to conserve the Constitution. And I'm trying, I want to get us away from labels on our side about
Hmm.
all of this because I'm a conservative and a progressive. Like, you can hold two things at once. You can
Yes.
hold two ideas at once. I'm a
Right.
conservative because I want to
I
conserve the
believe in serving the
Constitution
Constitution.
and the founding documents and our Bill of Rights and life,
But
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But I want to progress it for the ideal of a more perfect union where
correct.
people are seen as equal and
Right.
people have autonomy and equality and
Right.
it's not white people are better, it's not men are preferred, it is everyone gets a fair shot, and if that means you need to get better yourself to have a shot at getting it, it's not because your opportunity was taken away, it's because you were never good enough for it anyway and you need to take it on yourself to grow up and learn and become an adult.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that, like, Ketanji Brown is called a DEI hire, and she, like, went to Harvard. She's, like, got all of the bona fides necessary to be a Supreme Court justice, but the fact that she's Black and female means that she's a DEI hire, and they love to make fun of the fact that she obviously isn't as well prepared as, say, Clarence Thomas, which
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas never should have been approved in the first place. When it came out that he was sexually harassing his own employees, he shouldn't have been made a justice. But instead,
Yeah.
they made fun of her and provided and approved him anyhow, and now he's one of the most crooked people on the bench because
Yeah.
he didn't have the correct temperament to be a Supreme Court justice. Yeah, we do not want the
Yeah.
Elon Musk party. Oh my God.
No, I'm just making sure because that's the America Party. There's and like we can't. Yeah, he already took the idea, but I don't
Yeah.
know if he ever read it. Oh, you were giving an idea of a name for the party. No, I think things like that are fine. I just we have to be careful which like what names we're choosing because some
Yeah.
people have already tried to steal them or have them already.
Yeah.
Um, but really, what Like we need to get away from the over politicking of things and just talk about what's going on and who's really causing it. And it has to be about pro-constitutionalism,
Hmm.
separation of church and state, pro-bodily rights, pro-body autonomy, pro data privacy, and pro-equality. And it has to be based on our founding documents. I want to conserve the
Right.
Constitution that we
Well,
have
one of the
and progress it.
one of the conservative issues on the Constitution, of course, is we have to also argue that it was never meant to be read as an originalist document.
No, it's a living document.
It is never meant to be read as the people in the 1700s wrote it. Okay, they sit there and go, you can't have gay rights because they didn't consider them in the 1790s. Bull. That was not. It was not. It was all rights that don't go to the people, go to the states. There were never. It was never said that the first thing they did was amend the Constitution to give us more freedom, not less. And we are now in a position where we have a ruling party that wants us to have less, lots
Hmm.
less. Hello, not Rubio
It's
Marco.
yeah, um it's they took a living document and and in the last 50 years have told us that it cannot change anymore. They've
Hmm.
they basically in the last 50 years they have said, no, we can't do anything. We can't touch the Constitution. It's immutable. It has to stay this way. Unless we don't like it, then we're going to take it away. But if we like it, we're going to keep it there. But we can't add anything new to it. It's done. It's finally over. We reached the peak of constitutionality, and they lied to us, and they said that's what we were at. That was part of this agenda. Like
Hmm.
it was to desensitize people to the idea of civic engagement and civic understanding and just trust that the party has it. The
Hmm.
party's got this. And that by extension, the leader of the party has it really, really well. And this showed itself before Donald Trump and our current Christo-fascist Project 2025 regime that's going on
Hmm.
in moments of things like the unitary executive
Mm.
and Dick Cheney talking about the unitary executive when he was vice president. The unitary executive is just fancy speak for dictator, for
Right.
an authoritarian leader. They've always wanted this. This
Hmm.
is the idea of the Republican Party for a long time has been fascism. Like,
Right.
and the Democratic Party
It's strange
has
because
been
one, they used to keep
non-fascism.
threatening about it. They used to keep saying, we don't want every time a Democrat got in control, they'd complain that they were taking too much liberty as the executive. And then whenever the Republicans would get in control, they would like take and run with it and move it 15 million degrees left or right. And then they'd go, hey, what's the problem? And, it's like, there's
Yeah.
so much manipulation in our world right now, and it's so hard for us not to see it. Um,
And it stems from this Christian nationalism, Seven Mountain Mandate movement from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s now. And it has, and from earlier, from the German American Bund in pre World War II, from the Confederacy, from even those early Americans who really didn't want separation of church and state and wanted to
right.
found a state religion. Um, and it's
This is
like I said, it's a feature of the system and the party
right.
and the apparatus that runs that party and controls it, which tend to be very, very wealthy white people.
Hmm.
Um,
And they want to keep
and
things the way they are.
yeah, they want things to stay the same. or and the only change that they want is more power and more money and
Right.
whatever they can do to get there. And they convince everybody else that it's, we're not working hard enough, or your value is in your looks, or your value is in how many babies you can pop out and how
I always
voraciously
wanted
you
it to
can
be my
fake
brain,
prey.
you
Yeah, I
know?
always just wanted my value to be me. Like, I
Hmm.
want to value myself and not be told I have to be valued because I do work all the time or other things. Like, that's the lie most men are convinced of, is the only value you have is how much you produce for your family.
It's just not.
How much work do you do? I know it's not just men, but that's the predominant like push, is for men to be the ones who are the only ones making money, or the
Well, it
only
is
ones
now,
working.
but yeah.
And it's all destructive, what it is.
Consider consider meeting somebody new. One
Hmm.
of the first things you ask them is what they do for a living,
Yeah.
male or female. We and part of that comes, unfortunately, from the Protestant work ethic. A lot of the people that came here were very much willing to work harder. That's why we came here. We were like, we can work harder and get more for our work here than we can other places. So we have this whole immigration status that says if I work hard, I'll get taken care of better. My first question now is, are you MAGA?
Wait, who,
No,
me or
Lefty Prop
Lisa?
says their first question to anybody else is, are you MAGA?
Oh, I was gonna say,
Right,
well,
Tyler.
yeah, like it's bad that we have to ask questions like that. Like, you we have been turned into a society that the first thing that people care about is your political affiliation.
Right.
Um, because
Well,
your
that's
political
because it's so
affiliation
bad.
is your entire ideological affiliation. Like, you have to be
Right.
perfectly aligned to be that ideology. And the ideology of the right is oppression, fascism, and authoritarianism,
Hmm.
not exclusive to just Donald Trump and that part of the party.
No, Donald
The
Trump isn't going to end this when he
the
dies.
entire modern conservative movement in America is about fascism, authoritarianism, and
Hmm.
oppression. Like, that is the party
It's
platform.
for our
That is
history
their message.
against some people.
Yeah,
Our
and
history
that
takes us there, unfortunately, and people don't realize that we have been running around trying to knock people down with religion forever, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, and it's way bigger than Donald Trump, because he's a dying dictator. He's done. Like, he's old. He's not gonna be. He's hold on. Loud dogs.
Fascism is capitalism with murder. I like that.
And they're just, they're gonna take it, and they're running with it, and they don't care about the rest of us. The idea of fascism and authoritarianism is baked into right wing and
Hmm.
neoconservative or modern conservative politics,
Yeah.
because they want and need someone to be over them. That they are built on a structure um
Rule following. Let's
of
be
rule
honest. It's
following,
yeah,
of
it's knowing
very
where you are.
strict. Yeah, you have to be on this very, very, very strict line, and you're not allowed to deviate off that line. And it's
Correct.
very, 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 very white, and it's very, 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 very straight. And there's no bending, there's no twisting,
Right.
there is no brown, there is no anything else. It is just very white. And they rule on oppression. Yeah, they push out compassion and empathy, which is why I like to often say, is like, we have to be more empathetic with ourselves than ever. Um, yeah, I I hear what you're saying, Marnie. I'll read it out loud as the comment is, and Lisa, I just saw that you responded
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
That too is, it has gotten like that, Nick. However, I know a decent amount of Southern women that say that they hate politics and will literally vote how their husbands tell them, or dads tell them. And
Hmm.
yes, because they have been indoctrinated into thinking that they need to live in a system where there's an umbrella over them, where God is the highest, then your preacher or your pastor, then your father, then your oldest male
Hmm.
relative over
Right.
the age of 13, and
Hmm.
then little old you. And
Hmm.
so you get to do what any of those men above you say you
Hmm.
need to do.
Yep.
And so they don't think of it as politics because politics is downstream from culture. Democrats don't understand that. Most, like the Democratic establishment, either doesn't understand or doesn't care about that.
Right.
They think politics is upstream and culture is influenced by politics. No, politics are influenced by culture, and culture trickles down and turns into politics. They took culture and made it very hyper political.
Hmm.
And that's what it is. That's all it is. It's a hyper politicized culture that
Because
is
they didn't
bad.
agree with cultural changes that were happening that left traditional morals in the
hmm
dust. That was
Well,
their
not
biggest
even
issue.
traditional morals, but regressive morals, because
Yeah.
I don't even see any of the morals that they're advocating for really as traditional either.
Well, they insist that their big problem was abortion, but once they got rid of abortion being a problem, now they've moved on to trans, and they're going to go from trans to gay, and they're going to go from gay. And of course, they took the immigration thing and made that all really crazy too, because they have to have the problem with authoritarianism is you always have to have a bad guy. And so they need a list of
hmm
upcoming bad guys. So when they get rid of one bad guy, they have another one to get all of their people upset about so they can keep them voting for them and keep them round up and keep them against those dangerous leftists.
hmm
It's all manipulation from start to finish. It really
Yeah.
is. And it's 4 o'clock in US to go on time.
Yep.
So we
Today I have to go on
should
time. I've
bye.
got more work to do outside of the house and stuff to land
Yeah,
and
I've got to
to
tweet it
clear
down.
and mowing and yard work and all that fun stuff.
It's the
But
right time of year.
it's been great to be back with you. We'll be back on Tuesday. I we'll probably do another sermon from Pete Hegseth's church because I hate
Okay.
him, and we need to talk about the ideology that they spew.
Maybe you should look at
Um,
Moscow, Idaho a little deeper.
yeah,
I have read that it actually has a Christian designated town. Might be interesting to look at.
that sounds like a sundown town.
Mhm. Kind of.
That sounds like if I was Jewish and I walked into that town, I would be worried about my life.
Maybe one day we'll have to take a road trip up there.
Just wave giant stars of David's, just not on an Israeli flag. Just the Star of David, no Israeli flag. Just screw with them. Anyway, just a
Anyhow,
little.
have a good day, everybody. Subscribe to
Thank you
Nick.
all.
Subscribe to me. Come back next Tuesday.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, everyone.